Hey, what's up, y'all? This is Jared Albritton, and welcome to the Big Tech Energy Podcast. So I've been in the tech space for 17 plus years, and every day I would look around the room and say, I wish there were more black people in this room. I wish more black people knew about tech, and I wish more black people saw incredible success in tech the way myself and my colleagues have been able to have. So over the last couple of years, we've been doing spaces, and we've helped over 200 people break into tech. And now with this podcast, I'm going to be highlighting some of my favorite startup founders, high-paid tech employees, recruiters, career coaches, and hiring managers on what steps should you take to be successful, but what is the mindset that has made them incredibly impactful. So take your notes, stay tuned, and soak up this big tech energy. So today we got an amazing guest. We got Mo Hampton in the building. She is a software engineer, an amazing black woman in tech. And I'm not going to go ahead and steal her sauce. I'm going to let her introduce herself, and then we're going to get into it. So Mo, thank you for being on the show.
No problem. I'm so excited this morning to do this. So my name is Mo Hampton, as you know. I am an Army vet that did a pivot like 6 years ago now, into software engineering. And I love everything tech. I love to do like a little bit of search and AI, a little bit of NFTs, Web3. I'm dabbling in right now. And then also my main goal is always giving back. Because I did a pivot so late in life, now I enjoy doing things like Black Girls Code and give back to community, or even cyber jiu-jitsu. So, you know, people who look like me, little girls that grew up like me, they can, you know, have success moving forward. So it's all about building like that tech pipeline back to my community.
Absolutely. And that's where me and you connected back during the pandemic on that app called Clubhouse, back when it was popping, because everybody was stuck at home. Me and Mo would be on stages just dropping gems to people that look like us that wanted to get into tech.
Exactly.
And the goal really is like resources and access, which both of us are blessed to have, and we keep on giving back and pulling people in, but then also, you know, education as well. So let's talk about Black Girls Code. You know, tell me about that organization and, you know, what kind of things were you doing, and, you know, what kind of, you know, I guess advice would you have for young black girls that are interested in coding?
Great, yeah. So I started with Black Girls Code probably in about 2018-19 timeframe, and that's prior to COVID, of course. And it was more face-to-face. And I live in North Carolina, so I would go to what we call the RTP, which is the Riley Triangle area, and it's a very big tech hub. So we were able to get sponsors like Fidelity or IBM to be able to house us so we can have young girls come in. At that time, we only focused on girls who were of color, and sometimes, you know, Latinas would come in too, and that's, you know, gente. So they would come in from ages 7 to 14, and we would just introduce them to STEM concepts so they could be, you know, well-versed in it. Like me, I'm an engineer, software engineer. I would show them coding and how to do Python. And somebody else would come in and show them bots and how to do Internet of Things. And they really would, it wouldn't give them all the steps they needed, but it'd be enough to inspire, and if they were curious, to go forward and feel comfortable doing that.
No, that's amazing. That's amazing. And when it comes to just coding in general, people are so like intimidated, and the thought of doing it is overwhelming. How were you able to pivot into coding, and what advice do you have for people in terms of the steps or the areas that they can get into when it comes to it?
So first, it's just about curiosity. If you're a naturally curious person, and then you like to look at how things are structured and kind of deconstruct them, and be able to like put them back together, that's like a natural thing for you. Like if you just naturally want to go out there and research things, I put that out there first because I think it's very personality and, you know, skill set based.
So if you don't have a real interest in it, it's going to be a struggle, maybe.
It's going to be a struggle.
Yeah.
You're not going to be interested unless you like have a passion. I know people don't like to use a cliche like I'm passionate about my job, I'm passionate about what I do. But if you don't look at it as like some type of hobby, then it's going to be hard for you to really engage into coding. So I knew that I like coding. I did it like, I'm going to tell my age a little bit, but you know, you don't have
But
to
you look good.
That.
You look good.
But MySpace.
If you're listening on Spotify and Apple, she looks good. You go on YouTube. Anyway, go ahead.
He's so sweet. So sweet. No, but I first started doing things like web pages. I thought I was doing something cute. And then I went into like MySpace. And at the time, you know, MySpace was you can throw any type of code on there. Not gonna lie, mine had glitter coming down it. It had music on the back. Yeah. I had like, you know, just a little. Everybody else had a top 8. I had a top 16 because I put a code snippet in there.
Well, look at you.
That was just me being me. Yeah. And I didn't realize at the time I would lose hours, but the time just flew. because I enjoyed coding. It's a creativity process. So, but I put that in the back because my training is, I come from military, I'm an Army vet. So it's easy for me to, somebody give me a job and I'm going to do it and do it well. So I just was military intelligence. I was that for about 15, 17 years. So that's what I knew. I started at 17. I just kind of took those concepts of analytical skills and just ran with it and did so well where I eventually in my career ended up at the Pentagon.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so when I left the Pentagon and I was working at Special Operations and I was pretty high up on the scale, but I didn't feel like satisfied. I didn't feel like I was doing a job that made me happy at night. Like I can go home and rest, or every morning I woke up and I was like, yes, I can't wait to get there. I was getting the money, but I wasn't passionate about it. So I sat down with myself one day and I said, what would make me happy? Like feel like I'm really doing something out in the world. And I just remember that coding was something that made me feel complete when I did it. Like I was like, oh wow. It's kind of like construction. Like they say construction workers are the ones who are most satisfied in their jobs. It's because you actually can go and think of something, build it, and it's tangible. You can actually see it, like from ground to up. Like you can think of a house and you can have a mansion and actually use it. So that's how I felt with coding. I felt like it's something that was tangible to me. Like I could build things and I can actually play with it and then give it to somebody else and see them being satisfied with my product. So I decided at that time, I'm just gonna go out on a whim, go to a boot camp, and I ended up attending UNC Chapel Hill, which is a great option for me. I don't know if that's for everybody because you can learn how to code on your own for free. But for me, I needed a little bit of structure, a little bit of guidance, like every day, like a check-in, like an accountability piece because I was doing it at night and on weekends, and I was working. So if something had to push me during my downtime, I probably wasn't going to do it. Because if I had free time to just chill and Netflix, I probably would have done that instead. So it gave me a little bit of accountability. I went to the coding boot camp for about 6 months. And then after that, I told myself, if I really love what I'm doing, I'm going to quit my job.
Yeah.
I'm just going to go software engineering. And that's what I did. After 6 months, I had a nice portfolio. I felt confident in what I was doing. And I just was like, let's get it.
Okay. So to recap for the audience, one, you had a passion for it. Mm-hmm. You had a desire to build. You did research. You were curious. So that's a major key. Don't just code just for the money. Code because you're curious. Code because you're excited to produce, different sites, is it, or different products, applications, mm-hmm. et cetera. So you got to be excited about that. If you would do it for free, then it's a good job for you to do. Yeah. If you wouldn't, then maybe you do it for the money, but it won't be as fulfilling, and your interviews won't be as hot, and your actual day-to-day won't be as exciting.
Yeah, and burnout is real. If you don't like what you're doing, you're going to burn out real fast. And once you burn out, it's hard to get from that dark space. You know what I mean?
No, absolutely. And so when it came to you got the boot camp, you got the portfolio, talk to people about the importance of a portfolio.
Oh, the portfolio. So for me, it was GitHub. GitHub is a very public repository. It's like a centralized location for your code. So I would make sure that my code was very public, and I would make sure I would do challenges like 100 days of code. So there was it's an accountability. There's a green light on each one. I would go in every day, make sure that I was at least doing some type of algorithm, or I was going in and doing some UI UX, which is the front end, like the visual part of the code, but at least showing that I was capable of doing it. It may have not been, honestly, if I look back at my code now that I did in 2017, I would cry. I would laugh a little bit, and then I would try to remove my name from it. It's ridiculous. But that didn't count. What really mattered was that I was able to get the concepts. Yeah. I was able to understand the structure and take the language and make it do what it needed to do.
Yeah, and you got your repetitions in.
Yeah.
Because the repetitions...
they matter.
Yeah. It's like the 10,000-hour rule. Once you hit your 10,000 hours, you can do it in your sleep. You're probably doing that with military intelligence. Then you're like, I'm bored with that. Yeah. And now you're getting your 10,000 hours in with coding. So
switching it up.
Yeah, shout out to that. Okay, cool. So portfolio, just get started. Put it out there and start creating a brand. And once you have a brand, do you gain followers on GitHub? And that's where recruiters start reaching out? How does that work?
So I want to go back to what you're saying about the portfolio.
Yes,
It's like,
please.
yeah, you have to build that portfolio. Make sure it's a little bit public. Don't be scared to show it on your LinkedIn. Who cares if your current employer is looking at it too? They might actually look at it and say, "Hey, I didn't know you could code." So instead of you being administrative, I'm gonna push you over to the tech side. So
Yeah.
that might be, you may not even have to leave your company. You might be able to be useful if you like where you're at to stay in that company and move forward with it. But yeah, what was the last question you asked me? Go back, run that back.
How do recruiters find you, or
How do
what was the
recruiters find you?
process of finding your first job?
So for me, I don't know if it's still the same to this day for Twitter. Twitter was phenomenal for me, and I started that in like 2017, 2018. And I would use the trending topics or hashtags.
Yeah.
And I would follow them, and then I would support and just comment back and say, "Oh, by the way, can you look at this project?" Or if I was stuck on something, a lot of us software engineers, we like to go and Google and just look at Stack Overflow. But you can also throw that out on Twitter and put a hashtag. Say that you're having an issue with Microsoft Azure, like you're doing DevOps and you're having an issue in the cloud.
Yeah.
Just tag, like put a hashtag Azure, hashtag DevOps, and put your question, like what your issue and what issue, like trouble that you're encountering at that moment. And what will happen is a lot of other SMEs or subject matter experts that are in that field of Microsoft or Azure, they would see that and they would reach out to you, and then they would answer it. Because people are always, when they learn something new or they have expertise in something, they would be very willing to give you that information for free. Little, nuggets of knowledge, the gems that you call.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then they would look at you like that, and then you would start that conversation and then ask them, "Hey, can I just like follow you on LinkedIn? Could we stay connected?" And that kind of grew me that way. But then also I leverage at the time Instagram. And I think there's a lot of tech influencers now, but then there weren't many.
You're right.
So at that time, I would put up code snippets, make it look cool, show that somebody that looks like us is doing coding. So that was something I wanted to show. And I would get a lot of people back and forth from recruiters, but not only just recruiters, but other colleagues, I guess, friends who wanted to break into tech, asking me how did I do it.
Awesome. Yeah. So it's a common theme in Big Tech Energy from all the guests I have is like building a personal brand around your passions in tech, being a Black person in tech, inspiring others through your, your example, right? And then through that, you can build out networks that turn into referrals, into roles, etc. So definitely shout out to that. And shout out to Black Tech Twitter. Yeah. So if you are on Twitter, use the hashtag Black Tech Twitter, and you're going to find a ton of Black people in tech dropping a lot of resources, free certifications, apprenticeships, job roles, and then 100 Days of Code. That's a great hashtag. So shout out to that. I don't know if you know Danny Thompson.
I do.
Yeah,
I do.
yeah.
He went from frying chicken to being a software engineer. He used to work at, and I don't mean to say it like in a stereotypical way, but he used to work as a fast food worker, and then he's starting to inspire more people to make that switch, that pivot. Yeah,
so he's got, I think, around like 280,000 followers on Twitter. He's definitely dropping a lot of resources, doing a lot of Twitter Spaces. I'm about to get back on Twitter Spaces. I was on there for like 3 months.
You got to look at Paris Athena. So she's the one who started Black Tech
Pipeline.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. But no, but she started a hashtag, Black Tech Twitter.
Yeah, that's absolutely hers.
She threw it out there and said, "Hey, what does a Black Tech Twitter look like?" And then all of a sudden, it was just thousands and thousands and thousands of people responding and saying, "This is what I look like, and this is what I do."
Yeah. Shout out to Paris Athena. There's a lot of amazing, especially Black women in tech, that are like really helping out with the resources, especially on Twitter. So definitely shout out to Paris Athena. She's super dope. And Black Tech Pipeline is another place that has a lot of jobs that she built. So shout out to that resource. And I'm going to throw it in the caption of this podcast. Some of the top Black tech Twitter, influencers that people should follow.
Of course.
Besides me, of course.
So that's one part. So once you start doing that virtual, even though we love to be remote and love to stay behind our computers, we got to step out. It's good to have that human interaction. So I know you drive it a lot. You talk about it. There's those Black conferences that would get you into rooms that you never thought that you'd get into. Of course, there is Afrotech.
Shout out to Afrotech.
Yeah, there's BitCon. Yep. That's a big one.
Blacks in Technology Conference.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then also this year, I'm finally going to attend Render ATL.
Render ATL, huge for software
Yeah.
engineers. Yeah, shout out to the Render ATL team. Because what I love about them is that they're going to give you a lot of information, a lot of resources, but you're going to be able to network with a lot of black software engineers in a very laid back environment where you can be your authentic self. You don't have to code switch. You don't have to feel like really stuffy and professional.
Not at all.
And yeah, you can Millie Rock and, you know.
If you like to network and have hookah, go to Render.
Yeah, Millie Rock, have
You know, it's
hookah.
ATL. There's hookah everywhere.
Party, you know what I'm saying, dance. Yeah, you can wear your J's if you're a dude, wear your hair wherever you want as a woman. Like, shout out to Render and shout out to all the Black Tech conferences.
Just feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Into the room.
Yeah. Also, shout out to Black Women Talk Tech. That's a cool
that's a good one,
conference. Black Men Talk Tech. They just had that in Miami. Shout out to them. And, you know, also, they might not necessarily be Black Tech conferences, but a lot of Black Tech folks pull up. Definitely check out South by Southwest, the first, like, half of the conference.
Yeah, it's linking with the companies, like the major main companies now, with the ERGs, their employee resource groups. They're always going to go to these big tech conferences. And when you get there, just find the ERG groups where they're having, like, the little social gatherings, and you'll be plugged in.
Absolutely. And then also Art Basel. Don't sleep on Art Basel in terms of the
I've never been. How was it?
It's fire. Very, very fun. Besides all the partying and all that good stuff, they have a thing called Tech Basel now, and it's a bunch of like tech and Web3 events.
I was gonna say that's the NFT guy.
Like Meta had a thing called Meta House. If you go to my Instagram, Dr. J, DOCTAJ, if you go to my Art Basel recap, I basically give snippets of like, I don't know, 10, 15 parties. And although there were like parties, there were so many professionals there that are doing dope stuff, especially in the Web3 space, NFT, crypto, but also in the tech space as well. And yeah,
a little mover and shakers in the tech space. That's good.
Yeah, like the best and quickest way to get a job in tech is through referrals. Yeah. So your strategy of hashtagging, your strategies of going to these conferences, like I really want people to take that away. Like networking and building relationships, that gives you the ability to do like informational interviews.
Exactly.
So somebody, you know, smoking hookah with you at Render ATL and you're all talking about regular life stuff, they can, you know, pivot naturally to say, hey, I would love to learn more about your experience with the government doing software engineering. And all that guidance is going to give you some gems so that you can be more prepared when it comes to the interviews.
And more comfortable. You just feel comfortable because you had a one-on-one interaction with this person. So now when you go to where they are, you feel like you understand the culture because you understand them.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly. So shout out to that for sure. So when it came to your resume and your LinkedIn, did the boot camp help you put that together?
I don't want to say this, but the boot camp was trash for that part.
Ouch. All right.
I mean,
no, but
they give you these templates that, you know, just very basic templates that won't really get you anywhere. You have to really research where you want to go, look at the job position, and tailor it. I know people don't want to do that, and it feels like I have to do this every time, but it really is beneficial if you do it that way, if you just tailor it every single time.
Nah, yeah, that little bit of extra effort. And that's going to be a key theme in this podcast as well. A lot of Black tech influencers brag about how little they work, which you
What?
Yeah. And like
Is that because they got like that chat GPT going on? Or?
Nah, this is before chat GPT. I feel like it's more cap GPT in the sense that they're capping about how much money they make without doing any work in tech, but really they're making a ton of money off like affiliate marketing and impressions and things like that.
Yeah.
And it's guiding people to like say, okay, I can come to tech and just not have to work. But at the end of the day, you have to have work ethic. Now, once you start bringing a lot of value to an organization and you get systems in place, because there's a lot of people that create like systems to automate a lot of their processes, et cetera, then yeah, in those cases, you can work like 20, 30 hours a week, but it's because you're getting 60 to 70 hours of work done using processes and systems. Yeah. Or if you're like in sales like I was, once you build up a pipeline of relationships and organizations that you knew were going to buy on a regular basis, it was less pressure to have to call every day and, you know, kind of grind it out. But it took grinding first to get there. Same with engineering.
But your key that you said there is that you built a foundation.
Yeah.
You put in the hard work, the grit, to at least get the ground solid, and then you can build off of that. So I'm telling you to make a brand, to go out there, to socialize with people, to show your face and talk to them. But if you're doing all that and you don't have the actual substance, the actual portfolio, something tangible, something for them to test out and check and share with others, the efforts before are just pointless.
Yeah, you got to have value. It's like when opportunities meets value and preparation.
Yeah, that's luck, right?
Yeah, that's luck. You know what I'm saying? And so like, but nobody gets lucky in tech. It's because they put in the preparation and they have the value to bring.
From the outside looking in, it looks like it's lucky.
You're right.
A lot of preparation.
Right, but a lot of preparation and a lot of studying, etc. So don't expect these boot camps to give you the resumes or the LinkedIn. You're gonna have to figure it out in different ways. One resource that I just want to shout out is Black in HR. They have an elite membership where they do your resume, your LinkedIn. It's 9,000 Black HR professionals. HR is one of the most important, people you can know at an organization because they know the recruiters, they know the hiring managers.
They're the gatekeepers.
They're the gatekeepers. To have 9,000 Black gatekeepers that are opening up the gates, it's pretty dope. So I just wanted to shout that out.
Membership in Black in HR means community and being a part of a culture of like-minded individuals. You have a culture within a culture, especially in the Black community, and Black in HR is that professional culture. We have fun, we laugh and joke about things that are related to us in the workplace, but we also have serious aspects as well where we help each other grow. And it's just one of those places where I can go to any time of the day, pose a question, and I'm going to get all type of answers, but I'm going to get support.
And we all work together to give advice, to give insight, to share tips. The networking is amazing.
The people that I've spoken to have allowed me to learn things about myself that I didn't know. So what does that do? When I go to my next interview, I have that confidence when I walk in to be able to explain and speak on what I've done in the past and prove that I am the person for the job.
I just wanted to shout that out in terms of resumes and LinkedIn. Definitely check out Black in HR on Google, social media, etc. So I wanted to shout them out. But what was your Black in HR like? How were you able to figure out how to take your experience from the military and cater that to the resume? Was it just you just figured it out on your own?
It's just me, research. I'm a solution problem solving person. That's
Right.
just natural to me. But what I would say is also the experience. If you have work experience before you pivot, it's easier. If you don't have work experience, I would say don't go the non-traditional way. Actually go to the college and get your science degree. That'd probably be best. So you get your engineering degree. That'd probably be the best way. So you learn how to look at things in a certain way and put them back together.
Or go to boot camps that are accredited or that have job placement services included in the boot camp.
Yeah, there's a few that do that, but you also hear stories. So my overall message with boot camps is it's there to help inspire you and to give you the taste of tech,
and
or
structure.
give you the structure and the taste of software engineering. But you will have to do a lot of work after the boot camp. It's not I did a boot camp and now I'm certified and I'm just going to do the job. No, it is just the beginning.
Right.
It's just the beginning. So you at least need to put in 2 or 3 years after that of solid learning, algorithms, data structures, really get into the gritty of it to understand and to really be a knowledgeable and somebody who's hireable as a software engineer.
Yeah, no, that's 100%. And did you first job in tech? Did it have to do with something kind of similar to the military or something where your military background helped?
So that's it did do that. So I used my background, at least my networking. And within special operations, we started a tech team that would go into SharePoint, which is a Microsoft product that helps all of the employees. It's kind of like a CRM, or I'm trying to think what's the acronym for CRM.
Customer relationship management system.
Yeah, like Salesforce. I think people are more understand Salesforce, but
Right.
it's similar to that, but it will hold pages for each section and the business, and then also it would give a database where we could pull information. You could query anything that you need from your company. So special operations was starting a tech group, and it was a contracting group, and I knew who the hiring manager was, and I told him I asked him for a coffee. I said, can we have a coffee real quick? I can tell you what I'm trying to do, and maybe that would align with your mission set and what you're trying to do with the tech team. And we talked about it, and I told him, I would understand the customer and what they're really asking for, but I will also do research and figure it out how to make it, inside of SharePoint, how to make it tech, how to develop a system that would track where people are at within the organization. That's really what they wanted, was to track mission sets and to track where people are going in futures. And I had that conversation with him for about 20, 30 minutes, and he's like, okay, let's do it. Let's set up an interview. And then after that, I did more research on what they were looking for and how my skills could fit in there. It wasn't I was looking for my dream job and then changing myself to fit into that. I looked what was comfortable for me at that time, and then convince them, like, I may not be the best now, but I would be the hardest worker. I would be the person that would research and figure it out. And then once I get that, I will be the best, and you'll regret it.
Yeah.
So hire me.
Man, shout out to that. I got to applaud that right there. And that's a big tech energy right there.
Yeah, you got to say it with your chest.
Got to say it with your chest. You got to mean it. Look them deep in their eyes and let them know, like, I am the realist. And if I'm not there yet, I will be if you invest in me. And that's similar to my interview with IBM to get me into the tech sales role I wasn't supposed to get into, but we'll save that for another day. No, that's dope. And one thing that very nuanced, like kind of a small detail, but it's important. You didn't just ask him to meet. You said, let me buy you a coffee.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, like that's a major key. People like will meet with people and work with people that they like, and people like people that are considerate of their time and willing to just like give some sort of value. So that little small thing of let me buy you a coffee doesn't seem like much, but it just shows like the type of person you are. Like, I value your time, and I would like to, for the exchange of it, at least give you a coffee or buy you lunch.
I'm not wasting it.
Exactly. And then
get things done. You can multitask, get your coffee, get your energy up, and then talk to me really quickly.
Yeah, because like a lot of people will just reach out and just be like, hey, I want to take your time. I want to take your information versus like, hey, before I make this request, how can I add value to you? Is there anything that I can do?
Exactly.
Like, for example, with recruiters, whenever I would reach out to a recruiter about something that I need or a role or whatever the case is, I would reach out to them first with something to give them. So I'd be like, hey, I know this woman in Hampton. She's looking for a role. Here's a resume and her LinkedIn. You guys should connect. Now, he or she is like, oh, wow, I just got a resume. She's fire. This is one less person I got to find. They reach out to you. You're happy if you're in the market. That gives you value. It adds value. You know what I mean? Like, you look at me like, damn, Jared added value to me. The recruiter's like, Jared added value to me as well. Now I can go ahead and say, by the way, my mentee is looking for a role. Can you put their resume in? You know what I'm saying? And it's not like me just asking for a favor, but it's I provide a value first, and then I, get the favor. And
it's a stack, It's like we're building each other up as we go.
Exactly. The more you give, the more that you get. And if you have that mentality in tech, you're going to win. If you also think about like what you said, you approached the situation with a problem and you gave a solution. And so it's like, here's the problem, here's the solution that I created, and let's work. Yeah. That's way more valuable than, can you help me?
Yep. And look, don't you break into tech. I know everybody's like, how do I break into tech? How do I do it? Don't you dare break into tech and not turn around and reach back to help others.
Absolutely.
That's just the worst thing you can possibly do. So that's why I'm really big on building that tech pipeline, like going back and reaching down for others to be with me, because you never know. Like, the kids that I'm inspiring today could be somebody that can help us or solve like a world solution tomorrow.
Yeah, or they can be the CEO that hires our kids into their tech companies. Like, you just never know. And your brand is really how people feel about you when you're not in the room. So if you can get a bunch of people that feel like, Mo inspired me to get into tech, and now they're at Google and Microsoft, and it just all is like good karma that is spread around. But more importantly, I don't care if I get anything back. Like, when we were doing those clubhouse rooms and I would have like 30, 40 recruiters on stage and black people were shooting their shot, like, I didn't want $1. I didn't even care if they like followed me on Instagram. I mean, if you do, great, but it wasn't about that. It was just more seeing more of us in the room, and just like making people feel empowered.
And supporting that community.
Yeah, and that's why I have you on the show, because I want black women to say, you know what, I can code, but this is the mindset that I should have. in order to do it, this is what it looks like. You know, I got to have my portfolio. I need to be ready to network. I need to be curious. I need to like to build things. I need to say it with my chest. But if I can do all those things, then why not me? And what you did also is you took your transferable skills and things that you're naturally good at and incorporated into the role versus trying to be something that you're not. So it needs to be a natural progression. So like she mentioned, look at the job descriptions and really internalize it. Would you really be excited to do that? Could you work an extra, 3 hours in a day doing it and not feel like depressed or angry? And then be excited about the outcome. Like be more focused on the outcome than just the job or the money. Because like you said, you made good money in military intelligence and it wasn't fulfilling.
Nope.
The same thing will happen in tech. So I don't want to sell a dream like, oh, if you get a tech job, you make a bunch of money, you'll be happy. No.
It's not true at all.
If you get a tech job and you love the job, you love the problem you solve, you love the impact it has on the world, you love the way the company treats your employees, and you feel like it's a family, then it doesn't feel like work, and you will naturally make six figures before you know it.
Do what you love to do, or do what you do great, and the money will always follow.
Absolutely.
You know?
And, this is kind of random, but what you have is so critical because if you wanted to start a company, you are the person that's hardest to find or the most important when it comes to the executive suite. So I just want to just point that out too, knowing how to code, because Ruben Harris was on the show from Career Karma and he ran it. Ruben's dope. And, one of my friends, he's, starting up a fintech. Wes Paul, actually, Respect My Blueprint podcast. Shout out to him.
That's the man.
He's dope. Definitely check his podcast. But he's starting a fintech company that's going to crush, Credit Karma. And so he's talking about raising funds. And Ruben's first question was, are you technical? And if not, who's technical?
Get your SME.
And he was like, I'm technical. He's like, perfect. Because if your executive team isn't technical, no investors are going to invest in you because you're going to need to give away the control and you'll be so dependent on the coding and the developers. If they aren't part of the strategy and the vision, there's no chance. So I just want to kind of throw that out there too. Having coding is not just great in terms of having a career as an employee, but if you do want to be in a startup and create the next Google or Apple or whatever.
Yeah, it's extremely valuable to have that skill set.
100%, especially now with AI and all that stuff that's happening now. All right, cool. So the interview process, let's talk about that. Now, maybe at your first role, it might have been different because you utilize your network and relationships, but that wasn't, you've had other jobs since, right?
Yeah, so I started as a SharePoint developer, and then I went to it was a government contractor, but that's the first time I was actually titled as a software engineer, where I had to actually go in and understand Azure DevOps, be able to go through the cloud situation, and build custom code. I was no longer doing something that was out of the box and just giving a little, snippet of code. I was actually building a whole application. And that interview process was a little bit more intense. It's more, that's why I say knowing your data structures and your algorithms is vital to a software engineer. It doesn't matter what language you code in. It matters if you understand the structure, and then you're able to tailor that language to do whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish at the end. So that interview process was more of, I actually had just a whiteboard, and they said, hey, this is what I want you to do. And I had to, just from my brain, go up on the whiteboard and write up everything in code. It was like hieroglyphics for people who don't, really know how to read.
Got it. You had a whiteboard,
but I just had to whiteboard it out and write it all out. And I was actually impressed by myself because I didn't know that I can do it. But because I had at least 2 or 3 years of coding already underneath my belt, I felt comfortable, and I just did it.
Nice. Yeah, because I'm not a software engineer, so I don't know the process, but I've heard the interview process can be really challenging.
Yeah, so I've done a couple of, because I've been a lead software engineer for Booz Allen, Hamilton, which is a big consulting group for the government also. And then currently right now I work as a software engineer for the United States Department of Agriculture, USDA. But if you're going into a main, one of those big tech companies like Apple, Meta, Google, it is intense. I'm even scared to go there. I'm pretty sure, I can G up, I can do it, but it is very intense in a way that you're going at least 4 rounds. First round is like you're doing a online interview, like where you're going into like a code puzzle, and you have to go and log in and just put your code in and you send it out. If they like how you did your solution, then they ask you for another round, second round, where you would actually talk to the team and they would see you code in person. And sometimes you get hired from just that second round where you're live coding with them. Then there might be a third or fourth round. It's just intense.
Or a fifth or sixth or seventh. And then on the seventh, you don't get it.
And then something might happen where it's like, well, we're not going to hire against that anymore. We just decided to go a different direction. And you just wasted about 3 or 4 months of your life trying to interview. And then lately with the tech layoffs, I'm not trying to be, gloom right now.
No, we're just keeping it real, though, yeah.
You have to really stay sharp in your tech skills. Just be a little more agile. Be ready to just shift, flexible. Just shift left and right if you need to.
Yeah, if you're, you always got to be, like you're saying, you always got to sharpen your skills and be ahead of the curve in terms of where technology is going. Because if you stay where you're at, the people that are putting in that work and learning different, I guess, approaches.
You're like a dinosaur. That's the old stuff we were doing, but we're over here right now.
Yeah, you got to be sharp for sure. What was I going to say? I was going to ask about, one thing I also want to emphasize is, don't sleep on the fact she works for the USDA, meaning that you don't always have to work at tech companies.
Oh, no.
There's tech jobs and government, what do you call it? Government departments, government?
Yeah, government departments, government branches. Right now I'm in agriculture. Before I was in DOD, which is Department of Defense. There's so many different hubs there. And the reason at first I was like, but I can go and get that real big tech bag. I can go to Google. I can go do, Meta. But the thing about that is there's not a lot of security for longevity. Mm-hmm. And in government, you have that. You have that security in your job, and you get to grow in your job and build yourself up. And if you're not, enjoying it after a while, you can leave that and go somewhere else.
Yeah. The stability is key. You don't really hear about, 10,000 employee layoffs in the government. And, unfortunately, when things are hot, those tech companies tend to overhire. Mm-hmm. And then, a lot of the roles become redundant. Whereas the government space, I think they're a little bit more disciplined in how much they hire.
Yeah, but you will take on more work because it's less tech people in government.
Got it. Okay. Mm-hmm. So security, more work a little bit, etc. Okay, cool. So I want to kind of just finish it off with, I probably have about 50 more questions I could ask you. But when it comes to software engineering or just being a Black woman in tech, what last words do you want to give the people listening?
My last words is build your community. Reach out to people that look like us and support us if you can, but don't also go out there just wanting. Make sure that you have value to bring with everybody else. But as a Black woman, you might sometimes feel as if you might be more discriminated and the journey might be a little bit more difficult, and that's understandable. And that's why the community is vital. You need that to be able to support you during those times where you need to push through, because they might be able to give you some nuggets that just help you.
Love that. Love to end with that. That's amazing. That's that big tech energy right there.
I know. Big tech energy.
All right. So please let people know where they can find you, follow you, connect with you, etc.
Well, I'm everywhere, but it's Moxie Hampton. That's MoxieHampton. On Instagram, I probably post the most there. I have a little bit on TikTok. It's not that valuable there, but Twitter also.
Twitter, same name?
Same name.
Okay, so Moxie Hampton on all platforms. Mm-hmm. And do you connect with people on LinkedIn, or do you let people follow you?
Of course I do. Yeah, Mo Hampton, same thing.
Mo Hampton. Mm-hmm. All right, perfect. All right, cool. Well, Mo, Moxie, Monique, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, really appreciate it. Yeah. Definitely want to have you back anytime you want to come back to Miami, Fort Lauderdale. We'll do a part 2. There's a lot more I wanted to get into in terms of just the lifestyle you've been able to live. You do a lot of traveling. You have a lot of fun.
Tech and luxury.
Tech and luxury. Yeah. So check out her Instagram. You'll see visually the tech and luxury that she's doing. And if you want to see what I'm up to in terms of the tech and a little luxury here and there. You know what I'm saying? A little
I mean,
bougie.
we see you flexing. We see it.
You know,
we see
life
it.
is short. You can follow me on Instagram, Dr. J, DOCTAJ. Check me out on Twitter. I still post a lot of resources, and I'm going to start doing more Twitter Spaces once the podcast's released. So that's DOCTANYC. Lived in NYC for 15 years, so that was my Twitter handle back then. I haven't changed it. LinkedIn, just put in my name, Jared Albritton, and then if you want a free ebook with a little bit of my journey plus resume and LinkedIn guidance, you can go tojalbritton.com, put in your email, and you'll automatically get sent a free ebook.
That's crazy that you're giving that for free.
Yeah, like I said, giving back.
It's crazy, but that's great. It's
yeah,
great.
giving back. Yeah.
They're dumb if they sleep on it.
Yeah. Now I mean, it's free, right? So check it out, and if you get one thing from it, then that's great. And then share that website and the information to other people, especially the kids. That's what we do it for. Yeah. We love the kids.
Legacy.
And last thing I'll say is blackhire.com. That's something I'm partnered with, where we're helping Black freelancers find work. And so, blackhire.com, we're helping freelancers find work. And so if you want to post your profile and all the skills you do as a freelancer, my goal is to flood you with opportunities. If you are one of those opportunities, please post your roles on blackhire.com for free, the same you would on Upwork and Fiverr. And we'd love to get you more Black talent. So with that being said, I hear the buzzer ringing. I think it's time for me to go. But but make sure to follow on YouTube, subscribe, share, like, all that fun stuff, and check us out on Apple, Spotify, and all the platforms. And look forward to seeing you in person at some of these events or on this next show. So I'll see you later. Big Tech Energy.
Say it with chest.
Membership in Black in HR means community and being a part of a culture of like-minded individuals. You have a culture within a culture, especially in the Black community, and Black in HR is that professional culture. We have fun, we laugh and joke about things that are related to us in the workplace, but we also have serious aspects as well where we help each other grow. And it's just one of those places where I can go to any time of the day, pose a question, and I'm going to get all type of answers, but I'm going to get support.
And we all work together to give advice, to give insight, to share tips. The networking is amazing.
The people that I've spoken to have allowed me to learn things about myself that I didn't know. So what does that do? When I go to my next interview, I have that confidence when I walk in to be able to explain and speak on what I've done in the past and prove that I am the person for the job.